everybody. Welcome back to Retired Life. Wish you were here. I'm your host, Kim Lee, and whether you're newly retired, planning for the day, or well into the next chapter, this podcast is your invitation to a conversation about the 3 P's: purpose, passion, and possibilities. Today's guest is proof that age really is just a number. At 75 years younger, Mary Barley is still out here showing us how it's done. She's a former Miss Tallahassee and Miss Southern USA bodybuilding champ, a fitness coach, a gym owner, a writer, health and fitness speaker, and now the health and well-being coordinator for Leon County, keeping 1,700 employees on their toes, literally. We're going to hear about her journey from the stage to the wellness office and what keeps her motivated and how she believes it's never too late to start taking better care of yourself. Trust me, you're going to want to hear this one. So Mary, tell us a little bit about yourself and I want to hear about your job you have now, and then we'll get into your recommendations.
Well, after I worked in interior design for a while, I got really interested in health and fitness, and so that started my journey in my early 30s. And somewhere around 50, corporate wellness was becoming really popular, and I just realized that one day I couldn't go to the gym and keep lifting everybody's weights and loading them up on the leg press machine, and I transitioned over slowly, and I've been with the county now for 14 years. I absolutely love my job. My responsibility is to try to get 1,700 people to improve their overall well-being. And, of course, we don't get 1,700 people to do it, but we're getting a lot of people to do it, and it's just a joy. Wellness is a joy. It's a wonderful, wonderful profession to work in. You know, people make progress, and they're so happy, and it changes their lives.
So what do? Do you set up a program? Do you have you send out emails and go, hey, we're all meeting here, or do you just recommend what they should be doing?
No. We have a few major events during the year. We have a really big health and well-being fair along with our benefits fair. We do the Super Bowl every year right before the actual Super Bowl. It's kind of like a chili cook-off from our days of doing chili cook-offs. I came up with that idea. And we do a walking challenge that everybody absolutely loves for 8 weeks. And then in between there, every month we do a lunch and learn for the group that can come at lunch, and we do breakfast and learn for people that go out in the field for the whole day. So we do that at 7:30. And we bring in amazing speakers and topics, to educate them in different areas of well-being. And our program, Gallup Healthways did a study years ago, and they did it in 150 countries for 3 years to find out what really makes everybody the healthiest and the happiest. And they said you have to focus in 5 areas of well-being. So physical, which includes mental as well, financial, social, career, and community. And community is about giving back to where you live, work, and play. Career is about finding ways to advance and have a purpose and follow your passion and all that stuff. Social is about, obviously, being social, and we'll talk later about why that's so important, even more important than physical health now. And then, of course, physical, which encompasses all the things, mentally and emotionally and physically. So our program focuses on all that. So in the lunch and learns and breakfast and learns, we try to bring in speakers. And we've been so blessed to partner very closely with Capital Health Plan, and they send us out doctors to do the most amazing talks on lunch and learns and sleep. And I think this month we're doing it on foot issues, with podiatry, and we had Mosaic Counseling come in and do managing anxiety and stress through creativity, and we did art projects. And it's really fun, and we have a tremendous interest in it, and we feed them. That helps get them there.
I'm sure free lunch is
and
definitely.
The best is we do 7 exercise classes a month, so we pay for 3 circuit classes, a Pilates class, and a yoga class. And we're getting a lot of response to that, and even the men.
It can make you want to work for the county.
It's wonderful. I love it. I never thought I would, but I do.
So you also manage a nonprofit called Working Well.
Correct.
For employers.
Well, what we try, I focus on our employer group, but what we do with Working Well is we try to to engage all of the different employers in the community in helping to promote well-being with their employees. So we've actually, that thing will be almost 20 years old this year, 19 or 20. It's just amazing that it's still going. We do something called the Corporate Cup Challenge every year, which really engages the employees in team building and camaraderie and getting outdoors and exercising and having fun. And then we do the CEO breakfast every year. And what we do then is try to bring in the latest speaker to talk about trends, research, education in the area of well-being. And I will tell you, we are so blessed because when I go to conferences, our community is so far ahead in understanding what the latest trends are in well-being and working in that area. So I love that. I love working well. It's been around for a long time now. We have a great board of directors and a lot of community engagement. They overlap a lot.
It sounds like it. So you started off being a bodybuilder back in when? The 80s?
Let me see. I think it was before. Was it before the 80s? It was a long time ago. In my early 30s, actually, I'd already had 2 children when I started bodybuilding. That was kind of unusual.
So was this something that you were doing all along, exercising and doing weights, or did this something tip you off to becoming a very big into fitness?
Okay. We might have to edit this part, but I'm going to tell you the truth about how I started. I think I was going to Body Electric. I think Body Electric had started, and I was going, and I love the fitness thing. But I had had 2 babies, and I remember standing in a dressing room, and I turned sideways, and I was like, "What happened to your booty?" It just was like totally flat. And I was like, "When did that happen?" And I was looking in a magazine, and I saw this girl, and she was standing in the shower, and she just had the most beautiful rounded glutes. And I was like, whatever she does to get that, that's what I want to do. And I read, and she was a bodybuilder. She did strength training. And of course, your booty is called the gluteus maximus, and it's a big muscle. And if you work it, you can, make it respond and change. And that's really what started me. But once I started lifting weights, I loved it, and I haven't stopped since.
So why do you think strength training is so important for us as we age? And what would you say to someone in their 60s and 70s who think it's too late?
Well, it's so interesting. Every day I get newsletters, that have to do with health and well-being. And for the last 3 or 4 months, it's all about strength training for aging people and eating a lot of protein. And, think about it. When you retire, maybe you're going to start to spend a lot more time with your grandchildren. Maybe you're going to end up, and I see this so much, where you're all of a sudden caretaking aging parents. Maybe you want to travel. You haven't been able to travel. Maybe you want to start playing golf or tennis or pickleball or whatever. In every one of those situations, in order to be able to move and do those things, you've got to have enough strength in your body to lift, to move, to walk, to get up and down. And so strength training, if nothing else, I understand a lot of people fall just because they don't have the strength in their leg to pick their feet up and move. And I know my mother sat, the last several years of her life, she just sat in her chair and watched soap operas, and she got so she could barely move. So strength training is so important. It also keeps your metabolism up, so that you can maintain your weight a little better. And they've done study after study, starting with people with strength training for just 12 weeks in their 60s and 70s and 80s, and they get amazing results in 12 weeks. It's just amazing. And one of the ladies that retired in our office, she could barely walk. She was on a cane, and one of the reasons she retired was because she really could hardly move. She retired. She joined, I know y'all probably heard of this in Tallahassee, OLLI, the Ochsner Institute of Something Learning through FSU, and they have it in Panama City too. Amazing, everybody. It's like going back to college, only you don't have to take tests. You don't have to, and it costs about...
You can just take classes.
Yes, and it's like $35, but you can also travel. You can join walking groups. You can have field trips. But anyway, she joined a walking group, and she's walking 3 miles now. That's how quickly things can change when you just exert yourself a little bit.
I know. One of my grandkids was in my office while I was writing your stuff up. And I said you were a bodybuilder. And he goes, what do you need to lift weights for? And I said, well, to keep my bones from breaking.
Yes, the bones.
I went,
That's the other thing.
yeah.
Very much so with the help with the bones. Because some people that get really bad osteoporosis, women will just be walking and they'll just have a fall because their bones just crumble. So it's really important.
So what are some simple exercises that you'd recommend for people?
You know, I saw just the other day like 20-minute segment 3 times a week, and it's the basics like a squat where you go down, come up to work.
And you can
glutes
hold
and
on to a
legs.
chair. You don't have to.
I like, say my balance isn't the best anymore. I like holding on the TRX straps for some of those things. Our lunges, you know, bicep curls. Women always hate, you know, the back of their arms. That kind of goes first for us.
I know. It's like keep your
Tricep kickbacks, you know, shoulder presses. There are about 8 to 10 exercises that you could do.
I remember you doing that milk thing. What did you call that? Pour the milk? We would lift our arms.
Kim was a personal training client of mine for a lot of years. So this is really fun doing this together.
What's your favorite, some of your favorite moves?
Oh, God, I love leg stuff. I love squats. I love lunges. I love biceps and triceps. I like all of it, really and truly. I do 3 days a week. I do legs one day. I do biceps and triceps one day, shoulders, chest, and back one day. And I like all of them. I like mixing it up. But I will tell you, you know, I had decided that once I started, it was going to be like brushing my teeth. It was non-negotiable. You know, I wasn't going to stop. And even I've had both hips replaced. And in both of those incidences, I was back in the gym in about 3 weeks because I couldn't do legs, but I knew I could do arms. But I've always been afraid if I stopped, I'd never start back again.
I remember when I got a knee replacement, laying there with my knee moving like this, and I was doing crunches through the whole
You had
thing.
the best abs during
I
that
did.
time. You would lay on the ball and do abs. We went to the beach, I'm like, oh, whoa, Kim, those are some nice looking abs. So you can always do something.
Yes.
You know, if you have your shoulder, you know, replaced, go in there and do legs, ride the bike.
So you were talking a while ago about being social, and I would like for you to explain how being social plays a role in your wellness routine.
This blew my mind, but about 3 years ago, the research showed that social well-being is more important to your health than physical well-being. And this is the biggest thing as you age, is making sure you continue with friends and you continue socializing. And, you know, somebody was telling me the other day about her husband, second husband, that the first wife, they had adopted foster children, and the children the first 2 years had no contact, you know, with the parent. The parent, I think, was on drugs. And I think I remember reading a study about how when you're not touched and when you're not nurtured and all that as a child, it totally kind of messes you up for the rest of your life. So it's really important to be able to talk to people, to be able to, you know, be touched and get a hug. I don't care if it's from your kids or your grandkids or your friend or whatever. You know, social well-being is so important because of combating loneliness. Loneliness causes depression. And so many wonderful things you can do now. You know, they have all these 55 and over communities, you know, where people can do as much as they want to, as little as they want to, but there's always somebody there. And the county, I'll tell you this is so sad. We run anytime there's a disaster, especially hurricanes, we got the public safety complex, you know, and manage all of the disaster preparedness and handling the hurricane. And I work the citizens line, and it just is so sad how many older people call. They can't evacuate. They don't have anybody. They don't have transportation. They don't have anybody to come pick them up. I mean, the county does. They go and take care of them. But you just think, oh, my gosh, I couldn't call my child. I couldn't call my neighbor. I couldn't call my friend. It is really important. And it's also important, you know, just like with hearing, and I think your husband and I were talking yesterday, you know, about hearing aids. When you have hearing loss and you don't get hearing aids, you are much more apt to get Alzheimer's because you need to talk to people. You need to hear voices. So there are a lot of reasons social well-being is so important.
And you can turn them off when you get tired of it.
But like I said, there's so many ways to be social now. And I'll tell you, the senior centers, and I guess the cities and all companies in all cities have them. Do they have a big senior center here in Panama City?
I don't know. I need to look. I'll check
I'm
into
telling
that.
you,
I'm sure they do.
the one in Tallahassee is unbelievable, and they're building a big, new, huge one out on north of town. You can do everything. You can learn about computers. You can learn about anything you want to learn about cooking. You can take any kind of class you want to. You can do field trips. You can do, travel and do things. And so there's just no excuse if you put a little effort into it.
And socializing is really good for fitness too, because working out in groups really motivated me, especially
Absolutely.
when you do the challenges and
Well, I had a wonderful group that I personal trained, and we did become great friends, and we partied a lot. We had a but I had a challenges right after Biggest Loser came out, and I had a challenge, and guess who won? This little Miss Competitive over here.
a little bit of competitiveness.
And I read her book. She kept a book every day because I think you were on Weight Watchers, weren't you?
It was a journal.
It was hilarious. We were talking about it when we talked the other day.
At some points, I just go, no hope.
But she came through and won, and she didn't really change the quality of her lifestyle that much either. You still continue to do all the fun things you wanted to do.
So the next thing, and a lot of these are things that you mentioned to me, and I was very interested, is how important hydration.
Oh, yeah.
And that most of us don't drink enough water. And
no, and I will tell you that is so important at whatever age. But I read just this week that as you age, you lose your desire for water. I mean, a lot of things change, but your like I said, your desire for water goes way down. So you can get dehydrated really quickly, and you don't even realize you're thirsty. So it's really, really important to drink a lot of water. All different liquids don't count, especially wine and vodka. They don't count to hydrate you. They dehydrate you. But if you drink enough water, you can still have them. That's really, really important. So many different things are. And I can't believe how many people I hear that say they hate water. Water is my favorite beverage.
I know, I do. I keep a bottle. I just chug those bottles.
But there are people who hate water, and they won't drink water. And my mother, we used to fuss at her, and she'd go, well, if I drink water, I might have to go to the bathroom. And I go, well, you might get out of that chair, and that
goes back to getting up and moving.
Exactly. Or in the middle of the night.
Which leads us into flexibility and mobility. And they tend to get overlooked. But what are some of the small things we can do to keep flexible?
Yeah, well, I read just yesterday, and it was really the first time I saw this definite definition between the two. But, mobility, which I thought was a lot about flexibility, but mobility is your ability to move through a range of motion. So, a lot of people can't even raise their arm all the way up, or they can't. It's like I told Kim today, what do we do without backup cameras? Thank good they came on before my neck got so tight I couldn't turn and look around. So you got to be able to move through a range of motion is mobility. Flexibility is having the length in your muscles to go through a full range of motion. And then stability, and that was the first time I've really heard anybody talk about that, has a lot to do with balance, being able to hold a position. And they're all important to you. And we were talking about pickleball right before we came in here, and that, a lot of people, and it's probably happening in golf too, are getting injured because they get really competitive and they really want to push themselves, and then they end up getting injured. So important to work on all those aspects of fitness. And it sounds like a lot, but you could do a couple of yoga classes or Tai Chi classes, to work on flexibility and mobility and stability. But they're important just like strength and cardiovascular is. But you can combine a lot of them. You can have a lot of fun doing it, but just being outside, playing sports, walking.
Yeah. So I saw there's a game that my kids had where you would practice your mobility.
Really?
And it would test you. I think it was Wii, but they have other games that have come out since then. But I used to stand on that thing and fall off. Trying to balance on one leg.
Yeah. I know. Well, after 2 hip replacements, I think it might affect your balance a little bit. But, I try now. They say, based on your age, how many seconds you should be able to stand on one foot. And then they say, stand on one foot and close your eyes. That ain't going to happen anymore. But you can do that, just when you're brushing your teeth. You can practice your balance, by standing on one foot, and stability too. So there are a lot of different ways to do that.
Yeah. So, I love what you say about quality versus quantity. and not just adding years to your life, but making sure those years are filled and you have a lot of focus in your life as you get older to make the quality
Yeah.
as high as possible.
They have two ages, chronological age, which is how old you actually are, and biological age, which
Yeah, I
is
hate
based.
taking those tests. I'm like, whoa.
I know. I'm kind of right there with you. But we were talking, I think, right before we came in here about another thing I read this week, that the number of people that are going to be living over 100 is going to quadruple in the next couple of decades. So, y'all, there's a lot of us that are going to be living over 100. So, do you want to have as fulfilling a life as you can, or do you want to be in a nursing home for 20 years? I mean, it's not like the choice is always yours because we can't control a lot of times what happens to us, with the diseases we get. But even when you get sick and you're older, you have to have surgery. The better shape you're in, the quicker you're going to recover. The faster, the better your surgery outcomes are going to be. But again, we could have a long, long time to live. And I know I was also saying this, that I read some lady that was very high up in retirement said she retired at 82, 84. And they said, "What's your best advice about retirement?" And she said, "Work as long as you can." Now, think about it, y'all. If you live to be 100 and you retire at 80, you still got 20 years of retirement.
Come up with a second,
yeah,
third retirement.
And I love that. And Kim's right. We're talking about this. Anything you do that brings you joy and brings purpose in your life, whether it's taking care of children, gardening, like you said, and being a master gardener, or just having a pretty garden, all of those things, are going to help contribute to the quality of your life. But in every one of those instances, in order to do it to the best of your ability, or so that you don't get injured, the more physically fit you are, the better.
No, I totally agree with that. So what's something that you do now in your 70s that you wish you had started a long time ago?
Oh gosh, I don't know, because I've been doing physical fitness since I was in my 30s. I don't know, but I would like. I guess this is hard to believe, but I never had a sport. I never had a sport.
You don't play pickleball?
I
It's
don't
a
play
sport.
pickleball that much. I've tried it some. With 2 hip replacements, I'm a little bit leery about, the side-to-side movement.
I
don't
told
hurt
you, you
myself.
don't move. You stand right there. The ball's got to come within this range or forget it.
Exactly. But that's so crazy. I'd go snow skiing. I never really enjoyed snow skiing that much. I never got into golf. I never got into tennis. I don't know. So maybe I should have picked a sport when I was young, because I do think having that when you get older. But one thing I really would like to talk about, too, is mental and emotional well-being, and that's so important as you age. And again, yesterday I read an article, and it said there's one area that we get a lot better in as we get older, and that's emotional and mental well-being, because over 65, that's when people are the happiest, and it's because they don't stress that much anymore, because most of us realize it doesn't do any good anyway, worrying and stress. We've learned to be resilient. After, at this point in your life, there's a lot of stuff that's happened. You've dealt with losses, you've dealt with challenges, and you realize that, you really don't have much more choice except to keep going. You got to bounce back. Yes, you have to go through periods of grieving or whatever it is you're dealing with, but, you can't just give up on life and not do anything again. It also talked a lot about, it's resilience, that we don't worry as much. The wisdom, and that's revered in a lot of cultures, the wisdom that we get. We had so much experience at this point that we're a lot wiser. So that's one area of aging that works in our advantage as we age.
Yeah,
I loved reading that. Yay.
I would like to see that the experience part looked at more as
out of respect instead of like,
yes,
you old
yes,
bag.
yeah.
I think the grandkids appreciate that to some degree more than your kids. Your kids, they start thinking that they should be the parent and you're the child, and
Right.
you don't know anything anymore. Jared and Jessica.
I am not going to mention any names, but we all know.
Exactly.
So if you could bottle one piece of advice for anyone over 60 about staying active and vibrant. What would that be?
Just do it. It's never too late to start. There are strength classes for 80 and 90-year-olds on canes and walkers and everything else. And there is something that you can do to get started. There's a woman that's 80 years old that's out there bodybuilding. She looks tremendous.
I know.
Have you seen her?
Yes.
And my sister didn't
I've
start
seen a
running
few.
until her 60s. And the truth of the matter is, if you didn't do a lot when you were younger, your joints are probably going to be in way better shape than those who've been doing it since they were really young and wore their joints out. So just do it and know that it's going to improve the quality of your life. You're going to have a much richer, fuller life, if you can move.
What's a myth about aging and fitness that you'd like to bust for good?
Well, of course, there's always been the myth that if you start lifting weights, you're going to get bulky, and that's not true. And especially as you get older, it's really hard to build muscle, so that's not going to happen. You don't have to worry about that. But just that it has to be boring. There's something everybody can find to do that moves their body in some way. I swear to God, I think some of the best bodies I've ever seen are from gardeners. You think about digging and squatting and up and down. And yeah, so there's something you can find to do that you would love. And getting outdoors is so important. Nature is really important to your health. So there's something out there for everybody.
What motivates you on the days you don't feel like getting up and going?
It's really rare that I don't. And I'll tell you why. One of the reasons is the gym is my social place. Those are all my peeps, my friends. I mean, when I was personal training, that. We were so close. We had so much fun. And
I did look forward to every single day going into that gym. And we were going early.
Yeah.
Well, I thought going later and later kind of slid.
Yes, when you go early. But even now, and it's so funny because a lot of the people that Jay and Todd and Bill and people that we grew up with and did stuff with, they're still in the gym. And it's so funny. You look forward to seeing them every morning, catching up, staying. You don't talk a lot. That's a good thing about working out in the morning. If you have some place to go, like I have to be, get to work at some point in a decent time. And so you don't have to spend a lot of time taken away from your...
And I have this philosophy that the earlier I get in there, the more asleep I am, so I don't realize I've completely done a workout until I wake up. Wow, I'm done.
Well, now that's interesting, Kim. I've never heard anybody sleepwalking through their workout routine.
So, how important is sleep to your overall health routine? You mentioned that a while ago that you had people to come in and talk about sleep, and do you have a tip that you swear by?
For sleeping?
Yeah. I know there's a lot of people that have insomnia.
Yeah.
And they say it comes with age, but I sleep like a rock.
Yeah, Dr. Curran came and did the most interesting thing on sleep. And here I thought this was really interesting, but because we talk a lot about teenagers having to start school at 7:30 in the morning, and they are the ones that go to bed late and they never have enough sleep. And he said they did a sleep study where they tried to wake them up during REM sleep, and they were going to do it for a week, and they had to stop after 3 days because they were getting psychotic. I mean, sleep is so important to you, and you will, as you get older, not require as much sleep or not be able to sleep as well, but naps are good. People make fun of older people taking naps are good. And I will admit I take melatonin and I take a little tiny bit of Sleepy Z if you need to take something to help you sleep. But and of course, as you age, most people get up in the middle of the night and have to go to the bathroom at least once, and that can be frustrating. But sleep hygiene, they talk to getting the lights out of the rooms. Don't be, doing blue light right up until the time you go to bed. Have a routine. We were laughing this morning about how much longer it takes you to get ready when you get older, whether you're going to bed or getting up in the morning. But have a routine that winds you down at night. And I've never slept in a mask. I know so many people that swear by it. They say the darker the room is, the better. But whatever you read about sleep hygiene, try to pay attention to it. If you're going to have a toddy, have it earlier, like with dinner. Right before bedtime will make it hard for you sometimes to get into a deep sleep.
I have to have it dark. If there's a light anywhere, it feels like it's beaming at my head going.
Do you sleep in a mask? I just feel
no,
like I would.
Because my room is pretty dark, but I'll be in places like a hotel or something, and I have towels draped over everything. I'll lay down and go, okay, that's not working.
Yeah, it's important. I like light because if somebody's in my room about to get me, I want to be able to try to see who it is. So I like a little bit of light. And, to light your way to the bathroom in the middle of the night. But sleep is really, really important. But understand that as you age, it's not going to be the same as it was when you were younger and, it's deeper and all that. All of those components come together. And, it's just like with diet. I'm kind of on the 80-20 thing. If you eat 80% of the time good, you can kind of like have that donut like I just said right before we came in here. And so it's kind of the same way with it. Sounds like there's a lot to do. Just start with one. When I went to the county, we rebranded our program it was Wellness Works. I didn't want any word in there about it being work. I didn't want anybody to feel like wellness had to do with work. And then the tagline, small steps, big changes. And I just tell people, if you just make one improvement in one area, if you get on a budget, if you go get a library card, if you donate blood, all these little things.
A little thing is a success.
Yes, and it will take you to the next step and the next step. And oh my God, I've seen some of the most wonderful transformations, even in the county. My supervisor, I am so proud of her. She, in the last year, has lost about 60 pounds. She's walking 3 miles. The change has been unbelievable. And you can just see how much happier she is, and people complimenting her and asking her what she does and saying how good she looks. And, it becomes a joyful thing whenever you take the responsibility and improve your well-being in any area.
So here's something that you mentioned the other day, which is laughter and doing some fun things. How does that play into the well-being? And I really think laughter is huge.
I know, you're a fun person to be around, so you bring laughter to a lot of people. It is so important, and that's another reason socialization is so important, although I remember reading about somebody that had cancer, and he watched comedies every day, almost all day long, and laughed, and he really ended up having a very good result from it. Laughter is really, really important, and again, just having a sense of happiness and fulfillment, and, you're the person responsible for that. It's not anybody else's responsibility. It's not your children's. It's not your grandchildren's. It's not your best friend.
You have to make yourself happy.
Yeah, you do.
If you're depending on other people, you're going to be
Exactly.
disappointed.
Yeah, laughter is a big one.
And then, do you have anything that keeps you focused, that are a ritual that you do each day?
I think I see this with older people too. Routine becomes pretty important. And again, if you brush your teeth every night, that becomes a routine. It's a habit. It's something you just do and you don't think about. And so I try not to even think about getting up and working out at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. It's just something I do. And so I think that's been my biggest success, to having done it for 40 years or however long it's been. It's been a long time.
Yeah, but look how good you look.
I don't know about that, but I'm still out there.
Yes, you are, and you have so much energy. So if you had any advice to give to people, what would you tell them about?
Well, like I said, just do it.
Just do it. That's a
Yeah.
Nike.
It is. It is, but it's so appropriate. For this, you just have to understand that it's a value. It's something that's going to enrich your life and the lives of the people around you. My mother was in a retirement home for a while, and it ended up in assisted living, and everybody loved her because she was so sweet. And they said so many of the people were just nasty and grumpy. And,
Yeah.
if you can't do anything and you're not
You're not,
happy, then everybody around you is miserable. So
you want to keep moving for
yeah.
sure. So how does your family or your community responded for your passion for wellness?
Well, you know what? I am so blessed. And one of the reasons I love my job so much, and one of the reasons I'm still working at 75, is because it is such a fulfilling career. It's like, you talk about people having passion and purpose. And I felt that since I got into it. And I'll have to tell you what I didn't realize until much later in life. My daddy had a stroke at 43, totally paralyzed the entire right side of his body, couldn't talk anymore. He lived that way for 30 years. And I don't think I realized how impactful that was to me at that point. And so much of it had to do with his lifestyle. He was 50 pounds overweight. He smoked 3 packs of Lucky Strikes a day. If he ate a steak, he wanted to bite a fat that thick with every bite of meat. And so I think that had a lot to do with it. So having that purpose, really kind of keeps me going. But I get such positive feedback, from the people, especially when they're making progress, or especially like we brought in a talk on hormone replacement. And the women loved it. They were so grateful. Then we did one for the men on hormone replacement. We had a good turnout. And I'll tell you, those men, they didn't shy away from talking about the issues that come when you lose your hormones. And so when they write and say thank you, we really appreciate you bringing this information to us. And, so there's a lot of fulfillment in working in the wellness field. I'm very, very lucky.
So do you believe in cheat days?
Cheat days, absolutely.
We had a cheat morning.
And I won't work out today. It used to freak me out if I went a day without working out. And now I'm like, there's another day.
But you don't have many of those.
Cheat days? Gosh.
No, non-working out days.
Yes, I'm not working out today. And yeah, I do have them, but where they used to just freak me out, now I'm like, I know my body needs it. They say one of the biggest mistakes people over 40 make in working out is they don't give their body enough time to rest. So I always go, no, it's a rest day. My body needed it.
Yeah. I'm going to have to work on doing more of the workouts. In Tallahassee, I was on it. Yeah. But I have hit some lazy days, for sure.
I think you have to kind of sit down and make a plan and see what works within your day. You are a very busy lady, Kim. You're never going to slow down. And there's always something else that could be done. But you just have to say, this is
I love
my
swimming.
time.
I love swimming.
Yeah, you did.
And when I hit the pool, when I get out, I feel like I could do anything, and I want to eat a horse, which is the bad part.
No, but you should. You're supposed to, especially after weight training, you're supposed to eat protein within 20 or 30 minutes. So it's okay. You just can't eat all the wrong things all the time. But there's so much good food that you can eat, And once you get off so much sugar and processed food and you taste real food, it's like, wow, this stuff is really good.
Yeah. So do you have any healthy habits with your food and stuff like that?
Well, I try really hard, to eat protein in every meal, which is really important for everybody. I try to always eat complex carbohydrates. The thing is, I eat pretty good, but I like my glass of wine with dinner, and I like chocolate. I do try to eat, dark chocolate, which is really good. It's good for you. In small amounts. Nuts are good, but again, in small amounts, you can rack up some calories really high with the nuts.
You have to watch the nuts.
Yeah.
Especially with the chocolate.
Chocolate-covered almonds. Yep.
Yeah, and then there's that.
But just like I eat yogurt and a whole pint of blueberries in the morning, and a quarter of a cup of pecans is 200 calories, and I just kind of sit there mindlessly, grab another handful. I probably have 1,000 calories in pecans every morning, so I'm going to go back to eggs. But, I really try hard to, eat a lot of lean protein, not eat a lot of carbs, and eat, as many. And when I make a salad at night, it's got like kale and broccoli and spinach and carrots and tomatoes, which I guess I got to get out of there, and at least 6 or 7 kind of different vegetables in there. So it's like having a big bowl. So I'm real conscientious of getting the good stuff in there, but like that donut I just ate.
Okay, now that was to burn up some time. I don't know whose idea that was. We'd like to talk about that.
Your hubby's. But it sure was good, and it's okay to reward yourself sometimes. You don't have to be perfect all the time. Life would be really boring if you were.
I know. You got that right. I really appreciate you coming in here.
This was so much fun.
I love listening to you when I talk to you.
We have so many good memories.
What was it I used to call
too?
You that? Oh, even Angel's party too. My angel, my talker down.
Oh, you gave me a thing, and what does it say? Something about angels, and I have it right there where I see it every single morning. So I think of you every single morning, Kim, when I see that. We had a lot of good times together, y'all. Still having good times together.
Well, thank you for coming into our podcast, and I hope everyone follows us and subscribes. And I have a gift for Mary.
And
but
gives them a 5-star rating.
Yeah.
Yes, they need 5-star ratings. Doing a great job. Kim's doing a fantastic job. So
Thank
proud of you.
you.
Kim reinvents herself a lot. She does. She's never bored. That's for sure.
Well, we have a gift for you, and it is a lovely cup.
Oh, I
It is
can't
over
wait.
on the table. I didn't bring it over
Awesome.
here, but I really appreciate you coming on. And I would like to do a little shout out for our merchandise line. And I don't know if you've noticed, but our merchandise can give you whatever you need. If you are a hiker, if you're a golfer, if you're a pickleball person, you can get the logo to go with it. You can be whatever.
So cool.
While we're feeling inspired by Mary Barley's story and thinking about adding a little more move and groove to your life, don't forget to check out Retired Life Wish You Were Here merchandise. We got comfy tees, drink tumblers, and they're perfect for your morning walks, gym sessions, or just kicking back with friends.
Hydrating.
Keep the hydration up, because retired life isn't about slowing down. It's about showing up in style. So look for us and follow us on our channel. Thank you.